Hello, you're welcome to The Big Issue. The Big Issue is live from our studios here at 97.3 City FM and also from City TV. This week has been particularly interesting. There is some seeming turmoil in the opposition National Democratic Congress, at least emanating from Parliament, from Adabraka to Parliament, and appears to be spreading across the length and breadth of that party. This turmoil is as a result of a reshuffle occasioned by Adabraka, that is the party headquarters. The minority in Parliament is divided in the middle over it. Others think that there is nothing wrong with the reshuffle because, as we say, change is the only constant in nature. And indeed, the current or the crop of leaders who were reshuffled also came to replace others. But the bigger conversation really has been that what has been the level of consultation which occasioned this particular move. The others have said that consultation really has never been an issue. The party is always taking the decision and informed members. But others have said that the personalities involved, the stature of the personalities involved, Haruna Idrisu, Mubarak Muntaka, they are so huge that you cannot just take a decision and get them informed. You must have a root and branch consultation, and that consultation should produce a reshuffle if indeed that is necessary. These are the sides of the matter we are dealing with, and the whole week the NDC and its matters in Parliament have been the matters really on the political front burner this week. We'll look at that and see what the precedents have been. Are we evolving a practice? What really can happen? Indeed, the Council of Elders of the NDC has been petitioned. They have responded and they've said that they have received the petition and they hope to, in an expedited manner, resolve the matters. But what will it mean for the decision of the headquarters, the national executive, to be overturned? Wouldn't that be a bigger matter for the NDC? And what will it also mean if this leadership, the new leadership, is maintained? Won't the old guys undermine their leadership? What can be done to bring the NDC together? That is a discussion today. Also, the state of the domestic debt exchange. Now, 3 key groups have agreed to sign on to the program. Yesterday, the Ghana Security Industries Association was the final one to agree to a sign-up of the domestic debt exchange program. Earlier, the Ghana Association of Banks agreed to sign on to the amended one, and also the Ghana Insurance Association also did so. The thorny one really is the individual bondholders. They still are refusing to sign on to the program. They cited a number of reasons, key amongst them being that they have no buffer, they are individuals, and that keeping with or signing onto it could wipe their life savings. And those discussions have been up, and the ministry set up a technical committee, and that committee's report is ready. We'll go through some of them. The committee was tasked really to identify other sources of revenue for government. We'll look at all of that. Government says it needs 80% uptake. The domestic bondholders are about 11%. They say even if you take them out, government will still have 89%, from which it can raise its 80% uptake. We'll look at all of that and see what can be done. Mind you, the deadline, as we have it now, is 31st January, and we have an ailing economy, an economy that is day in, day out, growing more precarious and growing more, getting sicker by the day. The IMF board hasn't met yet. They will have to meet so that we have the final approval so we can get our $3 billion to revive our economy. That is the discussion on the table today. My name is Selom Adunu. As always, you can join the discussion via our WhatsApp line, which will be displayed on the screen, and which I will read out to you pretty soon. I'll take a quick break, return, introduce my guest, and then we'll get a discussion underway. Once again, you are welcome to incisive analysis and riveting conversation here on The Big Issue. You're welcome back to the big issue. My name is Selom Adunu. This morning we are looking at the NDC parliamentary leadership turmoil, whether it's a legitimate change or an undemocratic one. What has the precedent been? And are we evolving a practice? What must it be looking for? Is it about the personalities involved or it's about the party? What really should it be? Consultation or not? Should consultation really include consulting the caucus itself or consulting others outside of the caucus could pass for consultation? We'll look at all of that. To help us do that discussion this morning will be Honorable Mahama Ayariga, who is a member of parliament for Boku Central, the Honorable George Lowe, a former member of parliament for the North Dai constituency, Larry Dogbe, who is editor of the Herald newspaper, Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ASEPA, and Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa. On the second matter of the state of the domestic debt exchange program, Franklin Kujo will be there as well. Dr. John Kwachi, Senior Economist with the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, Senyo Hosi, Convener, Individual Bond Holders Forum. They will be my guests for the second part of the program. So, gentlemen, you are welcome to the program. Yes, I will quickly want to start off by giving us some updates on what has been happening so far. So, the National Democratic Congress this week announced changes in the leadership of the minority in Parliament. As part of the changes, the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, his deputy, James Kluche Aveji, and the chief whip, Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed, were replaced with the Jumaku Enyan, member of Parliament, Kesiel Atu Forsin, member of Parliament for Elembele, Emmanuel Ama Kofibua, and Kwame Agboja. The shake-up in the minority leadership has caused growing disquiet among NDC members of Parliament, as some appear unhappy with the decision. Several of the MPs, including MP for Bogatanga East, the Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayini, and Tamale Central MP Murtala Mohammed, later described the leadership changes as undemocratic and deeply worrying after they claimed they were not consulted prior to the change. Some 60 of the MPs signed a petition to reject the decision of the party. The members believe that the decision by the party is unfair and unpopular. Justifying the decision, the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asidun Keita, said the party's campaign message ahead of the 2024 elections will be heavy on the economy, hence the decision to reshuffle its leadership in Parliament. There is more in the following report.
On January 24, 2023, named the Ejumako Enyan Esia Member of Parliament, Dr. Kezia Lato Forsen, and the Member of Parliament for Elembele, Emmanuel Ama Kofibua, as Minority Leader and Deputy Minority Leader, respectively, to replace Haruna Idrisu and James Kluche Aveji, while Kwame Agboja also replaced Asawasi MP Muntaka Mubarak as the Minority Chief Whip. The shake-up in the minority leadership has caused growing disquiet among NDC members of Parliament, as some appear unhappy with the decision. It was gathered that about 60 members of the minority caucus signed a petition to appeal to the executives of the NDC to suspend the reshuffle for further engagement, while another 77 members of the caucus also signed a petition endorsing the current leadership. On Thursday, January 26, 2023, the new leadership of the caucus addressed the media, with the minority leader Dr. Kezia Lato Forsen assuring of his commitment to unite members of the caucus.
I have held fruitful and positive conversation, in fact frank conversation, with my senior brother, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. I commended him for his admirable leadership and stewardship when he was granted the opportunity by our great to lead. It will be my duty to represent our collective goals in particular, with an unwavering dedication and, most importantly, with high integrity. I have no doubt that with the support of the entire minority caucus in Parliament, we shall succeed. May the God Almighty guide us and bless us all. But let me also add that our first responsibility is to unite the caucus, and that will be number one on the agenda.
He also outlined 3 key areas that the caucus would focus on for the next 1 month in the discharge of its duties in Parliament.
Most importantly, I will focus the next month. To tackle 3 things. First, I wish to first of all send a message to the MPP that the people of Ghana are calling on them to downsize their government, to reflect the mood of the country. You are asking people to forgo their coupons or interest, asking the ordinary Ghanaian to sacrifice his payout. And so therefore, if His Excellency the President intends to reshuffle his government, let it be known that we in the NDC will not accept an attempt to increase the size of government. And if the current size of his ministers increase by 1, that 1 person may not receive our cooperation. And in the end, we also wish to assure the people of Ghana that as part of our engagement with the Finance Committee and the Health Committee, we have agreed to do public hearing on the audit of the COVID-19 expenditure, public hearing, beginning on the 7th of February 2023. At that point, we will pay due diligence to the duties given to us as the people of Ghana. And then finally, we will also embark on a roadshow where we will galvanize the people of Ghana and educate them on the meaning of what this economic crisis is going to take us through. But to conclude on this matter, I will appeal to the rank and file of our great NDC party to keep calm. Members of Parliament are in good hands. We will work with them with due diligence. Obviously, we are not new in this house. I've been in this house for 14 years. I know the capabilities of all our colleagues. Some I met, some came to meet me. I have worked closely with most of our colleagues, and I can assure you that together we shall succeed.
Later, the newly appointed leaders of the Minority Caucus in Parliament paid a courtesy call on the national executives of the NDC at its headquarters at Adabraka in Accra.
We have also recognized that the work that they've given to us will require dedication and obviously a lot more than just sitting there. So we have said that we will deliver on just that. And then obviously we have agreed with the leadership of our party that beginning from today there will be a series of activities that we will be undertaking. The Minority Caucus will have a maiden meeting with our leadership and the party leadership on Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. It is our hope that on that meeting we'll resolve all outstanding concerns. And we also wish to assure our former leaders that this leadership will work with them in good faith. And we know, obviously, that the Honorable Haruna's leadership chalked a lot of successes, and we recognize that all of us are product under his leadership. Honorable Muntaka is a stalwart, and we in this leadership will often defer to them as long as decisions are concerned and to seek their input before final decisions will be made.
We appreciate that the work ahead is going to require a lot of input coming from them. And of course, they understand that as a wing of the party, they need to work very closely with the leadership of the party to ensure that we can deliver the aspirations of our people. and especially being able to do what Ghana requires of us, which is to work towards taking out of power the most abysmal, the most incompetent, the most corrupt government in the history of our country. And so we've had a beautiful conversation with them. We've also signaled to them that early next week, on Tuesday, we'll be having a broader conversation with the caucus as a whole. And that conversation is one that will basically confirm the decisions that have been taken in terms of explaining the way forward, for us as a party, and the best way to be able to make sure we deliver the mandate that has been given to us, a mandate that will ensure the well-being of the people of Ghana come election 2024.
Meanwhile, some of the NDC MPs who signed a petition to reject the decision by the National Executive of the party to reshuffle its leadership in Parliament has petitioned the Council of Elders, National Executive Committee, and the leader of the party, John Dramani Mahama, to suspend the action. The disgruntled members believe the decision by the party is unfair and unpopular as no consultations were made.
We are equally concerned that the letters that were issued were not the decision of the party. Our party as NDC has about 4 decision-making groups. First, the Congress, where all delegates meet to take decision. Second is the National Executive Committee, that's NEC. And then third is the Functional Executive Committee. It is when this group take decision, then you get the General Secretary and the principal officers implement. Then we also have the Council of Elders, even though our constitution says that they are advisory. Sometimes, periodically, they also give directions and then the party tries to implement. We are firm, because I serve as on FEC, I serve on NEC, I go to Council of Elders as an observer, and I'm also on the political committee as an observer. Congress, all of us as members of Parliament are members of Congress, and the minority leader is also on all these levels. At no such meeting was there any agenda to discuss this. So it is clear that it is a letter, yes, written by the General Secretary, but the decision may be just the decision. Our plea is that when this petition gets to the Council of Elders, we hope that they will help fast-track a reconciliation and a meeting that will help us resolve all this before Parliament resumes, so that we don't have to saddle ourselves with this controversy. When MPP is really messing up completely, there are so many issues that we need to be focusing, which this is not the time for us to be focusing in the internal division among us, and I don't think that's healthy for us at all. 1 or 2 things we did not do. So I just want to urge our colleagues that they shouldn't be in a hurry. If this caucus really wants to have a change and have them as leaders, they can count on our support.
The Member of Parliament for Zabila in the Upper East region says until Parliament is officially notified of the reshuffle, the position of the old leadership remains.
It is when the Speaker reads the letter to Parliament, the letter he has received from the Secretary of the party that indicating the reshuffle. It is when that letter is read to members of the House that it can take effect. As of now, we have already said we are not there. So as far as we are concerned, the current leaders of the House, Honorable Haruna Idris, Muntaka and co, are deemed to still be in office. Now, the purpose of this press conference, as I've indicated, is to try to maintain cohesion in the party, is to try to ensure that we remain as a body, that we still are an appealing group to the Ghanaian populace, and that they should trust us for December 2024. So our petition is going to the Council of Elders of the NDC. We are petitioning the Council of Elders of the NDC with a copy to the National Executive, with a copy to the Speaker of Parliament, and a copy of the said petition to the former flag bearer, Honorable John Dramani Mahama. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The basis for our petition is a prayer to suspend the reshuffle indicated by the National Executive of the party. until such time,
The General Secretary.
Signed by the General Secretary of the party. The petition is signed by the General Secretary of the party. The basis of our petition is to appeal to them to suspend the suspension exercise until such time that there is a holistic meeting of stakeholders and consultation before we take a decision. We are saying so against the backdrop that the National Executive Committee of the party a few weeks ago decided that all appointees in the party and in Parliament should remain in office until after we have concluded the parliamentary primaries and the flag bearer primaries on the 13th of May this year. That all office holders and appointees should remain in office until the primaries are over. We are therefore surprised that the primaries are not yet taking place, they are yet over, and a reshuffle is hitting the caucus of Parliament. We think that that is premature.
So the newly appointed leaders of the minority caucus in Parliament also ended their rounds with a visit to the residence of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagben, at Oyarifa in the Greater Accra region.
Leading the engagement the whole day, and as part of this engagement we visited the Speaker's residence. Again, just a courtesy call. I have to say that we were warmly received. We also have benefited from his wise counsel, and so we are very encouraged by it. We've thanked him for that. Thank you very much.
What was his message to you?
Well, our priority right now is to make sure that we unite our caucus. That's our number one priority, and that is so important to us. Of course, you cannot lead when your crowd, your people are not united, and that's our singular focus, and we are confident.
All right, so you heard and saw the quite a comprehensive report there, ending with the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua, now Deputy Minority Leader of the of Ghana's Parliament. I don't even know whether to say now, but of course, once the decision has been made, that's who he is, and a few others. They've done a lot of consulting. I mean, they've met people. I don't know whether to call that again consultation, but they're going to meet key personalities of the party, met the national executive, went to the Speaker's house and a few other places. Before that, the minority leader held a press conference where he outdoored himself and said a few things about what his priorities would be in the next few months. First, he said, was to unite the front and then take the fight to the MPP, who are the bigger opponent, he says. All right, so to help us dissect these issues, the Honorable Mahama Ayariga, Member of Parliament for Boku Central, the Honorable George Lowe, former MP, North Dai, Larry Alansdogbe, Editor, Herald Newspaper, Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, and then Franklin Kudu, President, Imani Africa. Gentlemen, once again, you're welcome to the program. So I mean, earlier in the week, we just woke up to the announcement that the Haruna-led minority leadership is being reshuffled to be replaced by the Ato Forson-led leadership. It was quite an interesting one. A lot of people saw it coming. Some also did not. Let me start off with you, Mahama Ayariga. You are in Parliament. How did you get to hear this? And did it surprise you that the reshuffle occurred in the manner it did?
Good morning to you immediately here, and to those out there listening to us and viewing on television. It's a privilege to share this platform with my colleagues, and I appreciate it. We were in Bissau, in Guinea-Bissau, where there is an ongoing session of the ECOWAS Parliament. And so my colleagues, members of the delegation from Ghana, went for the session. For the session did not even start. It was preceded by a seminar. So in the seminar, when I got the news, and then immediately I started hearing the reactions. And I told my colleagues there that there's trouble back home. So I cannot do this seminar. I cannot attend this session. So I immediately just called the airline, and fortunately there was an available seat. And so I just drove. My colleague joined me, Honorable Samson Ahi. He joined me and we just went straight to the airport. We boarded the flight and got in here in the middle of the night because there was a delay in Abidjan. But on my way, I had started calling my colleagues. I had spoken to the Honorable Muntaka. I had reached out to our leader, Honorable Haruna. I had called Atu Forsen. I had called Bua. Bua was in the US and said he was also taking off and would arrive yesterday, I think, in the morning. Was it the day before yesterday in the morning? So we were calling each other and trying to see how we manage the reactions. So if you ask me where I headed whilst I was in Guinea-Bissau. And then I cut short my visit there and then my assignment there and came back so that we can all be part of a process of managing the situation in which we have found ourselves.
So are you part of the team who petitioned the National Council of Elders? Quite a number of you. I'm not sure I saw your name in there, but you are here. So
no, my name is there.
So your name is there.
My name is there among the list that petitioned the National, the Council of Elders. My name is there. But I believe that those whose names are there are not necessarily against the decision of the National Executive. We all joined the rank and file of the party to elect them as our leaders. And so I believe that the last thing that we will want to do is to undermine their authority and their capacity to lead the party to victory. I believe that the objective is to provoke a conversation such as what we are having now. And I'm glad to mention that I don't know if you have it has come to your notice. This morning, the chairman of the Council of Elders of the party, Alhaji Muhammad Idrisu, has issued a statement asking everybody in the party to cease fire because the National Executive and the Council of Elders in particular have been seized with the issues raised by some members of the caucus and that going to go into the matter. So all of us should refrain from the media exchanges that have taken place. So yes, my name is listed among those who have raised this issue.
So you said you are not against the decision of the National Executive, but once you're petitioning somebody against a decision that has been taken, it clearly means that you have misgivings about that decision. Here you are saying you don't have a problem with the decision. What then? Why then did you petition? What was the content or what is the objective of that petition there?
The petitioners essentially are raising a number of issues. As a lawyer, I believe that those issues really lack some clarity. Why do I say so?
Which issue? The issue the petitions are raising.
The petition is raising fundamentally a question of consultation, essentially. For they are not saying we're against Atu Forsen, we don't like Bua, what do they call it? Abuja is not capable of doing the job. They are simply saying, we thought that in a matter like this about our welfare, you would have engaged us also. They are saying that they haven't been consulted. I was not on the ground. I was outside the country. And my colleagues are saying we haven't been consulted. Yes, and it's true that the wider caucus has not been consulted. And they believe that in a democratic setup like ours, a matter as fundamental as that, they should have been given some hearing also. That basically is what they are saying. They are not questioning the competence and capacity of our colleagues who have been asked to lead us. But as a lawyer, I know that there's no clarity in the matter that we are demanding because there's really nowhere in our constitution or in our rules or standing order in which it has been indicated that when the party is going to designate leaders, it must consult members of its caucus. There's nowhere. But also, we have some precedent in which the party has consulted members of the caucus. In the recent, process of selecting the leaders, the party, consulted members of the caucus. Ultimately, the decision was for the party to take, but it did consult members of the caucus. But I've also been in parliament in the past when the party really did not consult the members of the caucus. All the party did was to say, well, you are going to, parliament is being convened tomorrow, let's meet tonight. Or let's meet tomorrow morning before you go to the chamber. Then you assemble and they say, well, we've looked around and we have decided that X, Y, Z will lead you. And very often once they declare, nobody challenges. We say, well, party has decided that you will lead us. We follow. So these have tended to be after general elections. Okay? When there's a general election, after that, two things occasion that. One is that you've lost an election and you are going to opposition, and then you have the old people who were leadership. Sometimes some people haven't contested or they've lost their seats, okay, and there are some vacancies. And sometimes some people who are very good but were in the executive have come into parliament. And so there's a need to decide who should lead, and so that happens. Sometimes you are in opposition and then you win power. When you win power, many people who are sitting in the front bench are, aiming at getting to some ministries. So even if you offered it to them, they won't accept because they are lobbying to be ministers. So again, there is a need for a shake-up in terms of the front bench. And then also, when you are in office, you find out that, okay, the character of the person you need to defend government position and government policy will be different. You are in opposition, the character of the leadership that you need to attack and then get you to power, will be different. And so you have to make that judgment. So we're used to changing leadership after elections, in between elections, and the formation of new governments and new parliaments. And it has often been consultative in relation to the members of parliament, but it has also often been unconsultative. So there's precedent either way when there's a change in government and in parliaments. But we don't have, and I said this on a different media platform, we don't have a precedent relating to the change of a leader in the middle of the term when we're in opposition. Both MPP and DC. There's no record in the middle of the term of a leader that he has been changed. Some members of the bench may be changed in the middle of the term of an opposition front bench. Okay? As it happened in the MPP, if you recall,
Natoshi.
Yes, Natoshi and co, and then even Danboche and etc. But the leader, and sometimes even the deputy, I think there was one instance, but that one, I think they were even in government, when the Tema MP, who was a deputy majority leader.
I think it was, is it Abraham
Abraham, yes. He was a deputy leader.
He was a majority leader at the time.
Was he a majority?
He was majority leader, yes.
But they were in government.
Yes.
They were in government. We have precedent of changing whilst in government, but we don't have precedents, whilst in opposition, both majority and minority. Well, that is the point. Because there's no precedent and the rules are not clear. Why do I say the rules are not clear? Our standing orders, and he is privy to the content of our standing order, simply says that the majority leader is the person designated by the party. And then it also says that the minority leader is the person designated by the party. So perhaps you have to go into the party constitution to see whether the party constitution has made provision for an internal mechanism for designating. And again, you go there, they are all silent. Are you getting the situation? So this is clearly a novel situation. Okay? But then members of parliament, including myself, we feel that, well, yeah, it's novel, but we are human beings, we have feelings, and if it comes to that kind of situation, it will be good if you at least consult us on the matter.
An emotive, it's an emotive situation rather than
something that is founded in law,
yes,
or even in a really clear precedent. You get the situation, and then also we're all
in normal parlance,
yes,
then you have no point really in petitioning the Council of Elders, because you stand on nothing really. It's purely emotions.
We don't stand on any firm legal basis. I have to be frank. Even though my name is there, I get the point.
Given all the things we've seen.
Yes, and justifiably so, because we are dealing with human beings, we are dealing with careers. Okay? How will people perceive our leader, Haruna Idrisu? How will people perceive our chief whip, Honorable Muntaka? These are people that we've worked with, in my case, for more than a decade. Okay? And to wake up one early morning and then to hear that they have been removed, I will be sympathetic. It's not because we are against Atufosun. It's not because we are against Bua. Bua is a very close friend of mine, and Atufosun has been a very close friend, and I've been one of those guiding him and etc. So I don't have a problem with Atu. I don't doubt the capacity of any of us to step into leadership and be followed by the rest of us. But I'm concerned about how do you manage a colleague under the circumstances, And so that is why we do what we are doing. The second thing also is that, yes, it has happened. And then I realized also that after it happened, we are all not managing it well. Okay? Why do I say we're all not managing it well? Those of us who are challenging, I don't believe that press conferences and others are the proper forum for challenging your party, because party discipline is so important. Party cohesiveness is so important. And signaling by your conduct to the rank and file is so important. And then also, I feel that our leaders who have done this have also taken some missteps. That is the national chairman and the general secretary. Because, yeah, there was noise among our colleagues. There was rumor of petitions. Some of the petitions were actually on our platform. Really. There's no, if you go and look for a hard copy of a petition signed by 70 members of parliament, you won't find that hard copy. You understand? People are just indicating their names in solidarity, but it was on our platform. Nobody really put it out there. Some people secretly, exactly. You see a name and later on it is removed and that kind of thing. So it was only on our platform that we're protesting. It hadn't really gone out. And
others appeared on TV.
Yes, I'm coming. Yes, I'm coming. So I'm saying, so those who, jumped the step, went out on
we'll come to that in what?
Yes, on TV and radio and etc. Some of us have our reservations about that conduct also. But at the same time, we also have reservations about our national chairman also going on that tangent. I believe that our national chairman should have spoken to us first.
But you guys are on recess.
Oh,
and people like you are not around.
Wherever we are, if he calls us and says, hey, guys, I want to see you here at this time. Those who are there will come. And then
that'll be representative of everybody.
whatever communication he
You guys
gives
will hear.
to those who are there, the rest of us will hear. So I don't believe that his first line of action should have been to be speaking to the country.
But to be fair, Honorable,
He should have spoken to us first.
To be fair, I think we got to hear about this because of, should I call it the leaks? There were letters sent to, the one I saw first was the one to Abeji, Kukusha Abeji. We saw that letter leak, we saw the leak, and we saw the one to the speaker. So officially, I'm not sure that the party wrote to the media or to the public to say that these are the changes. So I'm sure because of how it happened, once those letters were in the public domain, somebody then had to speak to them. You know,
Yes,
so
yes.
media went to him and then he
Yes.
had to speak.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's how come he spoke to the media before speaking or meeting the entirety of the caucus.
Yes, the sequencing of the communication is...
But the people have to be notified first. After speaking to them, maybe in this case, I hear it's novel to send a letter, but they did that. If they had just spoken to them on phone, as the practice has been, I hear, I'm not sure there'll be letters in the public domain that would have caused all of this. Maybe they wanted to formalize it, and so they sent letters.
Yes, I appreciate that, and that is part of the grievance of some of the MPs. The grievance of some of the MPs is that some of our colleagues even got to know about their removal under very embarrassing circumstances. Take Aveji. I'm told that he was in the middle of a conference in Southern Africa, and in the middle of the presentation, he received a message: "You are no longer deputy leader."
I mean, really?
Yes. I mean, I get the situation. So the communication and how it went is still an issue for some of the MPs, not because they are against the decision, they are against the way it has happened.
Is it a case?
But you see, ideally, normally, in the past where the party has summoned us to tell us, they will normally tell us just before we go into the chamber. Or even the day before we go into the chamber, they will call us and say, "Look, you are going to the chamber tomorrow. These are going to be your leaders. Or you are going to the chamber today. These are going to be your leaders." And then we walk behind them into the chamber. Listen, I believe that there was some good intention in terms of the dates of the letters. Because Parliament was supposed to be resumed on the 24th. The letters are dated 23rd.
Oh, I see.
Are you getting the situation?
Okay, so it wasn't actually going to be very different from the past, only that this time there's a letter.
I believe. I don't have concrete evidence beyond just the coincidence of the dates. Okay? And then somehow the speaker issued his summons and made it the 7th of February.
I see.
Are you getting the situation? So perhaps they had intended to orchestrate it in such a way that just before we go, they communicate to
like the way it's
individuals and then they communicate to us. But that didn't happen. So naturally, people felt peeved about it.
I see.
And so that happened. The same way also that some of us are not happy about the way our new leaders conducted themselves, which is to speak to the media first before speaking to the people that they are going to lead. So those who went out to protest in the media, I thought were wrong. The National Executive, in speaking to the media first, even before speaking to their MPs who are primarily affected, I believe wasn't the best of judgments. But then also, the new leadership not keeping cool and first approaching their colleagues to galvanize them. Is that okay?
Muntaka talked about Atufosun's meeting with Haruna, which wasn't, in his words, fruitful.
Of course, Atufosun said he had spoken with Haruna. They had a fruitful conversation. Indeed, he said it was a frank conversation, and by the word frank, I could imagine what happened in that conversation. So there was some talk between the two of them.
Came and rebutted that.
Muntaka said they might have spoken, but he's not sure it's anything fruitful.
Well, the point is, what happened between Atufosun and Haruna, I believe, I don't want us to discuss, and I even think that as a caucus we shouldn't discuss. So Atufosun, that's why I said talking to the media by Atufosun and the newly elevated leaders was a wrong move.
No, but given
But
the
then
storm,
also, yes.
given the storm outside,
Yes.
it was important for him to come and say that, yes, there are issues. My focus now will be to unite the caucus and then take the fight to the MPP. He had to do that. He necessarily had to do that show of leadership. And before he did that, indeed, he made us aware, and which is really the case, that he spoke to his predecessors. He spoke to Haruna, whether it was fruitful or not. They had a conversation. And I don't think, and maybe he had wind that the opposers were going to speak later in the afternoon. And he had to speak.
The newly elevated leaders have up to 7th of January to speak. The most important date, so far as I'm concerned,
Yes, 7th.
is the 7th of February. The day you come and the speaker announces you as a new leadership and you sit in front of us with the support of your entire caucus. For me, that is the most important date. Not what you say today, not what you say tomorrow. You understand?
Yes,
That's why I take a position that everybody has, taken some steps that have not helped. But the most important step now is what the Council of Elders of the party have called for, that all of you should keep quiet. We as Council of Elders are seized with the matter. We will meet you, we will resolve it, and then the party will move.
Let me read that Council of Elders statement to the hearing of everybody. So 28th, so that this was issued this morning, 28th January 2023, press statement by the NDC Council of Elders on the recent changes in NDC Parliamentary Caucus leadership. The Council of Elders of the NDC acknowledges receipt of a petition from some members of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus regarding recent appointments to leadership positions. The Council has initiated steps to act expeditiously on the petition and related matters. While this process is underway, the Council urges our honourable members of Parliament, party leadership at all levels, and all concerned persons to refrain from further public pronouncements on the matter in the larger interest of our great NDC. This is a time to be circumspect in order not to play into the hands of our detractors. The Council assures the rank and file of the party of an early and principled resolution of the issues, and ultimately the NDC will emerge stronger and more united. We urge all members of the NDC to rededicate themselves to working for victory in the presidential and parliamentary elections of 2024 to alleviate the suffering of the Ghanaian people. Signed by Alhaji Mahama Idrisu, chairman of the council. I'll take a short break, but just to hear from you quickly, consultation, that's Honorable George Lu, the matter really is that there is no clear-cut way of dealing with this. In some cases, consultations have happened. Other cases, consultations haven't happened. The matter now is that you didn't consult us. Okay, I have to take a break, sorry. So I'll come back to you, deal with that. I'll take a short break. We'll come to the Honorable George Lu for his views on the matter. This is a big issue on 97.3 City FM. We are dealing with the matters of the NDC Parliamentary Caucus. I mean, the change in leadership that is causing a huge ruckus amongst that caucus and threatening to engulf the whole party. We'll be right back. My guests are Franklin Kujo, who hasn't spoken yet, Mahama Yariga, who has taken the whole time because he's in Parliament and he's addressed a lot of the issues, Honorable George Lu, Larry Alandogbe, and Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. We'll be right back. welcome back to The Big Issue. Very big welcome to our TV audience, or the TV viewers. This is The Big Issue. We're dealing with the matters of the NDC parliamentary leadership turmoil. We're asking whether it's a legitimate change or an undemocratic one. Earlier in the week, the national executive of the NDC, led by Asiedu Nketia and Fifi Kwete, put out some information, at least to the affected persons, that they were reshuffled or they have been reshuffled. Haruna Idrisu to be replaced by Ato Forsin, James Klusha Ableji to be replaced by Emmanuel Amakofibua, Muntaka Mubarak to be replaced by the Honorable Agboja. This was not well received by a section of the caucus, and they have taken issues with it. Press conferences upon press conferences, petitioned the National Council of Elders of the party. The National Council has now responded this morning to say that they have received the petition and urged all of them to be calm whilst they deal with the matter in an expeditious fashion, in a manner that is principled and early, so that they can have some peace in the party to take the fight to their detractors, or so that they are not, they take the fight to their detractors, the statement alluded. So I must also say that, in the course of the show, we will have to go to the Africa Prosperity Dialogue at Peduasidas for TV. Radio will continue at 11:20. So at 11:20, radio, TV will have to take that program, whilst radio continues to 12 o'clock. All right. So I was about coming to you, Honorable George Low, my guest, Franklin Kujo, Mahama Yariga, George Low, Lara Landogbe, and Dr. Rashid Rahman. Consultation, they say, hasn't really occurred. But I also know from precedent that it's not been very consultative. You are just told that these are your leaders, and then you go ahead. But in the case of 2017, I hear there was some consultation, perhaps because of the fact that the voter caucus, had a lot of issue. They said they should be represented. They should hold the minority leadership because of their numbers, etc. Eventually, Abeji was made a deputy minority leader. Perhaps that was on the occasion that consultation. I'm not sure. Consultation or not consultation? And what do you say about the decision of the national executive in this matter?
Well, thank you, Salom, and once again, good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. And of course, I've been seeing my senior Mama in a while, so I'm excited to be around here. I think that this whole issue of consultation or no consultation has been ably dealt with by my learned senior and senior colleague, Mama Yariga. And I thank him for being very frank and straight to the point. He didn't massage the issues at all. At the base of all this is that let's put everything in perspective. You see, after every election cycle, leadership is changed. Either they are maintained or they are changed. When we are in power, in the middle, the change can occur. Reasons are very basic. If he were a majority leader and we're in power, the chances are that we have the avenue to reassign him to somewhere. So there are no hard feelings. I remember Dr. Ben Kumbo was majority leader. When Honorable Bagwin was brought back as majority leader, he was assigned Minister of Defense.
But Honorable Bagwin was majority leader. He was moved to Works and Housing Ministry also.
Yes, and then
Ben Kumbo or somebody came to take over. And
so basically, those
He actually went to
you want to help before Works and Housing. Okay.
Those things you can do when you are in power. So when we are in power, it's not a big deal per se to do it mid-term. Now the challenge here is that when we are done 4 years, and we were supposed to either confirm our leaders or make changes, what happened was that then we went to court. In 2017, there were issues. 2020, there were issues. So, but I remember even in 2017, before Honorable Haruna would take over, that thing or that process we are calling consultation was not triggered by the fact that there was need for consultation. It was triggered, as you said, there was a lot of lobbying because we knew that definitely new leaders would be chosen. Regions were jostling, and many names came up for the leadership. Honorable Mahama Yariga will know that his name came up strongly. And it was all in the spirit of everybody trying to get their person or their areas represented. But I do not see, and like you rightly said, when we exited Parliament on the 6th of January 2017, as at that time, until that, there were only speculations that it either was going to be him or Honorable Haruna or even Honorable Abeji. Those three names made there. But it wasn't as a product of, say, pure set-out consultation. We discussed it at length. We were in the house and we would each other and say that Charlie is going to be.
Before you left.
Yes, Charlie is likely to be Mahama. Then somebody said, no, I'm sure they'll give it to Haruna. Those are things that were internal things that we did. But when, like he said, once you are about to assume, because we didn't.
They are sure they will give it to Mahama.
So everybody.
So the day becomes critical.
Yes. So at the closer of the day, when you march in, your leadership are in front of you.
Yeah.
And once they get there, you know that this is your minority leader. This is that. So,
but moving forward.
Moving forward, that's why I'm saying that this particular one, if they had done it 2021, 7th January, there wouldn't have been any problem. It's an issue now because time has lapsed and people had assumed
and the circumstances of the time
and the circumstances
because of the speakership and all of that.
And all that. So you see, we are not in normal times. The new crop of leaders that have been brought, or the new appointments that have been made by the new National Executive Committee, that also, for me, was not a surprise. I mean, General Kito came to sit in front on TV in your studios and said that, very soon we'll be having leaders, possibly before they come back from recess. So he had already signaled that, and names had popped up. Yes, names had popped up. You know, names had popped up. We knew that Govins was going to be whipped. I knew it 2 weeks before time. I mean, it's been the process.
Because Govins told you?
No, he didn't even tell me. But you see, we are in a party, and having reached a certain level of the party, you interact, you get information. To be very frank, the only thing I wasn't sure about was whether Honorable Haruna was going to exit or maintain. And even that, there were speculations, but it wasn't definite.
I hear there was an initial list.
Yes, you see, this process started even way before 2020. To be very frank, I have heard news, I had conversations with people who got the inkling that certain things were going to happen. So, for me, the biggest thing that he has said that excites me about all this is, he made a very important statement. He said, we want to provoke a discussion. So, for me, that is the angle we should begin to look at these things. What discussion do we want to provoke? The discussion would be that, okay, how do we...
Henceforth, this is how we elect our leaders.
Yes.
Or we choose our leaders.
Are we still going to be there when National will just issue out a selected list? Or that this time we want the caucus to be consulted? Or at a certain level, the conversation should be broadened so that whoever we bring, people possibly we all agree on. I don't think that it's a bad thing to provoke that kind of discussion. And for me, I've always said something, and I think that we must begin to also look at that. I'm happy Mama Yariga is here because he had shared the subsidiary legislation and things like that. Our constitution, our party constitution itself, may need to do for us to go and have some kind of... The National Executive Committee should be given the opportunity not to only amend our constitution per se, but to have certain regulations governing certain aspects of our party administration.
Re-engineering.
It's not re-engineering. You see, when it comes to parliamentary primaries, guidelines are issued. But those guidelines, they vary from time to time. And sometimes it creates some confusion in its implementation. There are many other things that in situations arise like that are reason. You go into your party constitution and you have no guidance. You go to possibly parliament and you go to the standing orders, it doesn't provide guidance. So, at the close of the day, we have to begin to look at our constitution carefully, and where we believe that we need some guidance, the legal committee and others should look at it and make proposals. And this is one of the reasons why the National Congress that we're supposed to organize should be triggered as quickly as we can, so that some of these things can be dealt with. This is a no matter at all, because look, I can give you, like you said, I can give you countless times when you only get to know your leadership because the party says so. And moreover, you know, on particularly when you are in government or you are in opposition, and you have been elected as a member of parliament, and you are so excited about your new role, you are going to, you are confident your people are watching you. You are not, that's not the time you are going to fight who is a leader, who is not a leader. You've been told that challenges are the people leading the pack, and then you follow them.
I see.
So clearly, we are not in normal times, but it's also good that, and legitimate for members of parliament who feel aggrieved.
You think that what has happened on the MPP front, where members of parliament boldly called for the resignation or dismissal of Ken Ofori-Atta, you know, gives some impetus or some force to other MPs to be able to call for what they want? Because this wouldn't have been an issue perhaps, but we saw how bold that MPP caucus thing was against a person like Ken Ofori-Atta.
The way that thing was or seemed to have been resolved is the same way. So that's why that's why you see, that's why I said that the provocation of the discussion is the meat of the matter.
I see.
Because
yeah, this is when we come in there. I happen to be a student of constitutional law, and so I always try to excite myself around some crucial constitutional questions. Even though I profess with my colleagues the need for consultation, I also recognize the limits of consultation.
Perfect.
Do you understand?
Yeah, perfect.
The limits of consultation. Because it also begs the fundamental question of how does a party exercise control over its group in parliament?
Exactly.
If it is to take decisions on the basis of their acceptance or rejection, how does it exercise control? Because they are sitting in the chamber and they have to vote.
And consultation doesn't mean I'm necessarily taking what you say.
Exactly.
So they would decide one way, but the party will decide the other way. You'll be consulted anyway. But
So
your view,
your
view, the decision is not what you wanted.
Definitely.
So how then do you deal with that?
Exactly. So I can understand the current frame of our constitutional arrangement, where party decides, but how they decide is not too clear, so that on a case-by-case basis,
so I think in this case,
they figure out how do they
so the
maneuver
timing
in
and the
circumstances.
personalities involved.
Yes.
The timing and the personalities involved.
We are all concerned because our colleagues took a hit and we did not like the way
it was managed.
It was inflicted.
Very
Getting the situation. and we are standing by them on the basis of that. And that's why I said the communication hasn't been managed well, both on our side and also
on the side of the executive,
on the side of those who did what they have done. And that's why I will henceforth defer to what the National Council of Elders have said, that we will step in and manage the situation.
Very well. Larry, my colleague journalist, when you hear all of this, you see all of these things happening, of course, for us, when they are holding press conferences, we are happy because we get to see what's happening. So we don't really agree with this Council of Elders thing, because we want to know what's happening. When you hear all of this, what comes to you? You have covered, political parties for a long time, covered congresses, covered, a lot of things. What do you think the problem is? Because we've established that if you're dealing with precedents, it's neither here nor there, because both sides have had a bit of precedent. What is the situation? I think the point about the timing, 23rd, 24th, and the midterm and the personalities involved quite stand out to me.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I think that It's not about timing. Neither is it about consultation. It's about lack of central control.
This is central control. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it is. Because then Mama will tell you, or well, he could tell us as to whether or not this discussion hadn't been on way back in 2021. Whether or not this list that we have is not the second or the third list. Okay? Whether or not Haruna hadn't been aware that, this, at the point he was supposed to be leader, Atufosun was supposed to deputize him, and whether or not Bua was not supposed to come in somewhere and play a leadership role, along the line. So it has been on for some time now. And also before the Congress, I'm told that this change was supposed to happen, but either the chairman refused. Ofusam Pofo refused to sign, and then Asiedun Ketia also refused to sign because they felt that they were going for election.
Their chances. But who took the decision? Who would have taken that decision?
I was told that. Okay, I'm told that it was taken at the party level, way back. So their failure to sign that particular document before even the Congress afforded people the opportunity to build alliances, build networks, and other things, such that this movement was just a ticking time bomb. Again, Mama, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a meeting between one of the Ahoy brothers and then Muntaka and then Haruna, where Haruna is supposed to have said that he's going for an election, or the party is going for parliamentary primaries and presidential primaries, such that a change at this time could affect his fortunes in Tamale South? I sit here and I feel that, unless of course Haruna has become quite unpopular, such that a change,
it's often uncontested.
Is that?
It's
precisely. Because he has on clout out there. And so, whether Haruna is at leadership or not, Haruna should be able to sail through easily at the primaries. But where we are now, calling where a change had happened, and then, one moment, we can't make nobody somebody, non-entities, so and so. This whole thing being driven by emotions and so on and so forth. I think that it is just portraying the NDC as a very weak institution, as leaderless, as people who don't know what...
The NDC as a leader and the person of Johnson Asili Ketia.
He mentioned my name. I asked him whether to confirm or deny certain things.
No, you confirm or deny.
First and foremost, I am unaware of any previous lists.
Okay.
Are you getting the point? Until something is officially communicated to me, I want to presume that it hasn't happened. You understand? The second thing is, like I said, I'm somebody who tries as much as possible to be governed by the rules. The rules don't say I should be consulted as a member of parliament. People have asked, but was there consultations? And I say, I don't know, because I'm not entitled to be consulted. And so I don't know if there was consultation. But then when somebody's reputation and image is involved, and if my welfare and the welfare of other MPs are involved, I think that MPs have a case saying we should be consulted. Now, his argument about consultation that could have taken place within the party and at certain leadership cannot be dismissed. Because I was on another platform and I was asked, and I said, no member of the party at the national executive level has made a statement on the matter to deny consultation. Okay? And no member of the party has made a statement to confirm consultation. So let's not go there. Let's leave what happened at the national level at the national level. I'm sure at the right time they will speak. Haruna himself has performed excellently in this crisis. He hasn't spoken.
But that his silence is actually fueling a lot of things.
No. He hasn't
He's actually spoken.
No, he's only spoken to deny the social media
Yes.
tweets that were put out there in his name.
But cleverly avoided, talking about it.
No. He hasn't spoken. And I believe that...
Couldn't that be deliberate?
No, I don't want to impute ill motives.
But you don't
to
think
Honorable
that
Haruna
Haruna holds the solution
Precisely.
at this time? If Haruna comes up to say, well, this is what the party leadership has said, we may like it, we may not like it, but they are our leaders, this is what it is. My support for Ato Forcing is solid, it's uncontested. I support him, he's my colleague. We've done the Furata committee and things together. Ato, you have my support. Let's all rally behind him and let's take the fight to the elephant. You don't think this would have resolved everything?
Well, if you listen to some of our colleagues, you played Dominic Ayene's voice. What did Dominic say? He said, it's not because I like Haruna, or I like Muntaka, or I hate Ato, and etc. I know the quality of the relationship between Ato and Dominic Ayene. At the personal level, you get the situation. But he has consistently said he believes in the principle that MP should be consulted in any matter
But that's not founded in law. It's not founded in the rules.
It's not. Indeed, even in 2017, when we met for us to communicate our leaders to us, I recall Dominic having strong objections on the basis of this principle. So he's been consistent about it. You were there. He raised objections on the basis of the principle. So he's been consistent over the years.
Over lack of consultation.
Over the issue of MPs must be consulted. To the extent that, Haruna some time ago when he went to the US, visited Congress and the Senate, and went to the UK, visited House of Commons, when he came back, he developed some guidelines in which he thought we could, structure a consultative process that resembles what happens in the UK and in the US to guide parliamentarians in the selection of their leaders. He did present that paper to the National Executive, except that there's no evidence of it hasn't been formally adopted by the party. So there's been work around how do you structure consultation. But like I said, fundamentally, as a constitutional lawyer, I'm asking myself, if the consultative mechanism disables the leadership of the party to control the caucus, will they buy into it?
Yeah.
Does it augur well for the functioning of a democratic enterprise in which you have a parliamentary group sitting in parliament and a party sitting somewhere, and yet that parliamentary group must owe loyalty to the party?
Yeah.
What tools and levers are you giving the party to be able to control the individuals if the individual can assert a certain level of autonomy? Are you getting the point?
I get the point.
So for me, these are fundamental constitutional issues. Whether Uncle Ato Ahoy spoke to Haruna or not is an internal party matter that I'm not ready.
I only mentioned
to
an
discuss.
I mentioned an Ahoy. You mentioned as well.
No. You said one of the Ahoy brothers. Are you getting the situation? One of the Ahoy brothers. Whether Kwesi Ahoy, whether Kwesi Ahoy also spoke. Whether Kwesi Ahoy also spoke with anybody. Are you getting the situation? I don't know.
Very well.
Whether Kwame Ahoy also spoke to anybody. I don't know. Are you getting the situation?
You don't know what transpired.
And I don't think that it is fair to these personalities for us to be mentioning their names.
No, to the point where the denial
radio
had come.
Yes.
Okay, so
denial by who?
Denial by Muntaka. That there has never been consultation. And indeed, in your group, I'm coming.
Wait. I don't. And you see, I don't want to defend anybody.
Yeah.
If you notice, I've been struggling throughout to try for us to achieve some balance to enable the Council of Elders to be able to work. But then factual matters are factual matters. You see, I will not say that Muntaka has lied, because I believe when I listened to Muntaka, he was talking about being consulted in the decision to remove. There's a difference between being consulted in the decision to remove and being told that you have been removed. Are you getting the situation?
How are you consulting a decision to remove? Because you remove it, or you say, you know, okay, don't remove me, or leave me here, or let me go here.
That is why I also said that a constitutional framework that gives the power of accepting removal in the hands of the person to be removed is likely to be a flawed constitutional arrangement. And that is what I am struggling with. That, you know, how do you have a party control its caucus and yet deny them the capacity to hire and fire as a punitive measure for not following its directives? Are you getting the situation?
The reasons given, for example.
But then yet we want to provoke the discussion for us
so
to have an understanding.
That's
going
fine.
forward.
And I think that's one of the results we'll have from this. The reasons given by the national chairman for being the reshuffle is attributed to some reasons. Like, for example, the 2024 election.
You know, he didn't allow me to finish.
But no, you spoke and
no,
you
he hijacked it because then he.
Okay, so you quickly let's quickly finish.
So my point is this: that I don't think Haruna has become so unpopular in Tamale South.
So I think it must be clear that in all the discussions, nobody has questioned the competence. Nobody has questioned the competence of any of the leaders so far.
The foundation of that point.
Yeah.
Some Atu or some. Let's say
yes.
Met him. I'm saying that move away from that, because the conclusion of your debate is founded on that claim. And I'm saying that don't allege what you cannot publicly prove. Don't allege that one at Ahoy met.
No, the meeting
any of them.
So you're talking about factual issues. So if the meeting happened, that's the factual issue.
No, you can't prove that. So
the meeting actually happened. I'm saying it on
take these elderly people out of the.
All right, so let's make progress. So you talk about a central command of the party. The party has a leader. The national chairman is the leader of the party. Yeah. So in the absence of maybe,
and he's made the announcement, so we should just take it down.
So are you saying that the power of that central command as we have it now is not so forceful to push through decisions without these misgivings we are seeing?
You know, so we have City FM, City TV. You come under a company, and you have CEOs, board of directors, and all that. What of your when these leaders make a statement saying that you can't be on this particular program and that somebody else should come, let's say Bernard Avler or Richard Sky or somebody should come, and you have a group of people coming out challenging all that, and it portrays your institution, or you walk to a different media house and throwing all these things, calling Samens or whoever they appoint as a non-entity. The person can't do the show well, the person can't do this, the person can't do that, the person can't do that. It doesn't paint a very good picture of the organization you work for.
So in this case, if the central command was working well, what should have happened? You know, the decision is made, people are happy with the decision.
Yeah.
What should the central command do? These comments have come. What should the central command do?
What should they
sanction them?
Yeah, they could be sanctioned, for instance.
In the midst of all these brouhaha,
normally what you build is that, hey, when you go against party rules, there's a sanction that applies.
So what would be the role of former president, for example? I know he's still active because he may still want to become president. He should be that, the central figure who is not elected. The central command, perhaps the leader of the party elected by the
You've asked this question
but sometimes you have a central person who is leader, but his leadership is not voted. It's not been voted for. So, like former president, for example, he is huge. When he speaks, he goes far. What should be his role in this?
The former president running is going into an election, and so he will want to manage, himself or his interaction with people quite well. Should he come out and say that, listen, I endorse what is happening? How would the MPs who have petitioned the Council of Elders see the former president?
Yes.
Do you get it? Now, should he say, no, listen, let's reverse the decision. How would Asiedun Ketia and then the Fifi quotas and so on, they will see their leadership has been challenged.
Yes. Let me.
Okay.
You see, but okay, just quickly.
I want to go to Franklin.
Yes. That's why as we sit here, Asiedun Ketia is the leader of the party. So, like Mama Honorable Ayariga said, if Parliament had reconvened on the 24th, we may be having a different conversation by now. But suffice it to say that very soon we will have another leader of the party, because in May we are going for presidential election, and whoever we elect becomes the leader of the party. When he also comes, what will be the way forward? So in all this, like he said, I think that let's give the Council of Elders the space to have a discussion, to deal with draw a roadmap.
Very well.
And I'm sure that with that we will know exactly which direction.
Let me go to Franklin. Franklin has been here for some time. Hello, Franklin. Welcome to the program. From the civil society space, do you think this is healthy? Consultation, not consultation? The rules are not quite clear on that, or the rules don't actually talk about consulting the caucus that is affected. Honorable Ariga is saying that he believes this will trigger a discussion or a conversation on how to proceed with this, moving forward. What was your thinking around all that is happening? I know you've worked with Haruna and a few others in the past, even Ato himself. Their competence is not in doubt. The matter for them is that they've not managed the process. Well, what's your thinking?
Well, I think they are very good morning, by the way, to my good friends in the studio and everybody watching and listening. I think there are solid points on both sides. I tend to lean toward the point that there should have been a lot of, should I say, consultations. The nature of the consultation, I suspect, is what we would all have to quibble over. And I think that's what my good friend Yariga has actually put out there as to what the party should do going forward. If there must be some constitutional provisions to be made, then it should. But I also do know, in fact, that there's been, the parties involved, especially those who have been, for lack of a better word, taken off their seats, were quite in the know that at one point or the other, this was going to come. And so there are strong points on both sides. And I think this matter has to be put to bed by the leadership, or what's it called, the Council of Elders, who have just stepped in right now. But from us, we think that disagreements within parties are healthy. However, the disagreements are held or are done is also quite crucial. So we are towing the middle line. But I've got to admit that like I said in the statement that I posted not long ago, I think change is not necessarily that bad. And in this specific instance, I think Honorable Haruna and Muntaka and Abeji should be proud that they have, shepherded distinguishingly, by the way, some members of their own caucus that could now take up the mantle and then go forward with it. I'm not entirely sure about the economic argument advanced by the chairman of the party, because, I've seen the handiwork of Haruna, in fact, Abeji and Muntaga, and I think they are pretty well versed in understanding economic issues, probably better at explaining those economic phenomena than my good friend Ato himself. So I'm not entirely sure about making those strong arguments about the economy. So let's leave it at that. I think the competence of these new gentlemen are not in doubt. And as I said, they will be standing on the giant shoulders of Haruna and Muntaka to push forward the agenda of the party. You see, NDC must be a viable alternative. And in doing so, they must be seen to be united. I think these are temporary blips, and I'm sure they'll get over it. I'm not one to go into whether there was subterfuge or there was some coup and all of that. I'm looking at the grand picture. I think the gentlemen who were taken off had done their due. and they understand that there must be change. Their problem is the nature of the announcement, and not necessarily the fact that there should be change. And as I said, these are men that are already big in their own right, and they already right for bigger roles, and they shouldn't necessarily help in rocking the very boat that they may need in the future if they are going for grander positions. The party should be seen as one that belongs to all, but not necessarily to a few. And so, yes, the leadership in the National Council of Elders have been called upon, or have called upon the rank and file to stay the course of disagreement rather, and then deal with this matter. I mean, these things happen all the time, and so I mean that's all I've got to say. I wish.
So for you, I mean, do you think this decision should be reversed or will be reversed? The call by the people we are hearing is that, you know, the decision should be suspended or it should be reversed. You think that this will be reversed, or you think that the decision as we have it now will be what we have to work with? And what will be the consequence in each case?
Reading the body language and indeed the statement that have been made by almost everybody involved, I should read a sense of settlement and that the decision will stand. I think because in actual fact, what is being called for, which is negotiations or conversations or discussions or consultations, would tend to lead to one thing. Let's just allow this to play out. We are sorry the way it was done. It wasn't done properly, but I do not really see the decision being reversed at all. I think the conversation now is about massaging egos and making sure that the right things are done. And as Ayariga said, there must be, going forward, there should be probably provisions that will show how these things should be done. And so I frankly don't see the decision being reversed at all.
So now, I mean, you talked about massaging egos. Haruna is such a huge figure. I mean, he's developed that over the years, and being minority leader became the icing on the cake. Very huge figure up north, and even someone who has a national appeal. Now he may have to, I mean, he has to leave this position. I don't know if he will become a backbencher or not, but how do you think that this can be dealt with so that the cracks as we see them now will not deepen, but will rather be healed, and we will mend fences and then get a united opposition? What should be Haruna's role in all of this, and what should be Ato's role as well?
Well, I think for Haruna, he becomes a minority leader emeritus, really, and his experience, and his experience it would be in huge demand. In fact, in other countries, in other advanced countries, if he leaves parliament before he becomes a presidential candidate, which I'm sure is nursing to be, he probably set up a consultancy and will be hugely paid on how to advise transitions, right? So, look, huge emeritus, political emeritus. He has this grandstanding. Haruna can, it is a delight to listen to Haruna speak, and I'm sure he's a man of valor, and will take this in his stride. But he must also be clear and probably help in overturning the fortunes of the party in the northern region, not just the northern region, but the other regions of the north. Of course, when I say northern regions, I mean all the other regions that have now been cannibalized into other subsets, really, right? Because the fortunes of the party have been dwindling in the northern region, right? When Haruna has been doing quite well in the national, in elections, but the party has been fortunes has been doing it. I don't know whether it's a persona of the vice president who's and because of that, the northern regions are coalescing around him as against Muhammad. But I think politically he should become this store of knowledge, store of value that he can unleash on the entire northern region and convince the blocs that essentially are turning towards the NPP right now, and then see how best he can, claw back a lot of that particular, power. Now, that will do two things. It will still bolster his stature in the party, as well as bolster his stature in the future if he wants to run for political office, at the highest political office. So I think Haruna is this towering figure, and as my good friend Ariaga said, he's been calm and he's not said anything. That's a mark of a leader. But at the right time, I think even before the Council of Elders come to say whatever they want to say, I know Haruna would come out and say, look, I've served my time, and I think I want to be this leader and to be supportive of the new leadership. And the ultimate is winning power against what currently is happening on the economic front. And we need to put our energies together. For Ato, I think he needs to keep singing the tune of unity. And indeed, in his first statement, even though many people thought the statement was short, I asked myself, what more could he have said than what he said? That look, he's spoken to Haruna, and he has his support, and he believes that Haruna and co are going to be these fountains of knowledge that he will draw upon, and that the real focus is in capturing political power. I think he should just keep to that particular narrative. And as I said, I don't want to get into the emotive argument, but if I were making arguments scientifically, I think the northern question when it comes to the fortunes of the NDC must be addressed, as against the overwhelming support the NDC seems to be receiving now in the central and western regions. And I think the party must have taken that decision as well, that we needed to consolidate those gains in those very regions.
Very well. Honorable Jolilo, so what should, of course, Franklin is speaking, how should Ato position himself to avoid a situation where those dissenting voices within the party will not work against the collective interest of the party in Parliament? Now we are in an era where, the need for special, how do you call it, secret voting, which has always been the constitutional standing orders, have been brought to the fore, where we see a lot of those. Is it not possible that if this is not handled well, there could be a party decision, but because some people will not be happy with the leadership of Ato and co, will not want to see them succeed, will vote against decisions and make things look bad, as we saw in Haruna's case, because there were instances where they had to vote secretly, but they voted against the party decision. For example, in the case of the appointment of the ministers, and people blame the Haruna regime for that. These same voices could say, okay, we'll do it for him to see that it wasn't Haruna, it was the problem. How should he handle this?
Well, I think that Ato thankfully seems to know what his options are, clearly. In his first public statement, he says his focus is going to be on uniting the caucus. How does he do that? He will need the support of the Council of Elders, he will need the support of the party hierarchy and all that. I hope and pray that he's able to walk those delicate steps and unite the caucus. Honorable Mama Aiga tells us that people are not necessarily against Ato. I'm sure that not even the change, but the manner. That is what they think. That possibly the manner did not suit them. But bottom line is that Ato and the new leaders have a duty to themselves and to the caucus and to the party to ensure that their posturing and the way they do things would bring nothing but unity and understanding and acceptance. The way they reach out to the Harunas of this world, the way they reach out to the Muntakas of this world will also go a long way. Then, of course, is the good old theory by my brother Alan Stogbe about control, central control. You see, reality is that in as much as we as a party may have disagreements within, but there should be some degree of discipline, and the whip system must be put in place in respect of this voting and related issues. Because
it's interesting how Abuja will put people like Haruna and Muntaka in line if they disagree on a matter.
That's like
you
see, should go ahead and sabotage.
No, you see. Let me tell you. I have served as chairman of a committee where I had Honorable Ayariga, I had Hannah Tete, I had Haruna Idrisu, I had all sort of, there were ministers at the time busy doing their schedule. But when I was in charge of constitutional legal department, they all served on my committee. And I don't think that on one occasion did we have any altercation as to how work needs to be done. We achieved a lot doing that.
But the circumstances are different.
What
they
I'm
did
saying,
not remove one
what I'm saying that,
and put the other there.
What I'm saying is that when you have, you as Haruna, when you have people of a certain stature, your approach to them would determine how they receive you. I'm not sure that when Muntaka became whip, he didn't have the big names in the party. There were people who he came to replace. They were still in parliament. You understand? Leaders have changed. Imagine Honorable Bagbin not being leader and had to serve on my committee. I had to work with him. I had to go back and I had to bend backwards to reach out to him and tell him, guide me. And he did that graciously. You understand? Some of the very key things I learned in Parliament was because I wake up in the morning and go to Honorable Bagbin and discuss with him what the program should be and gives you direction. Honorable Kumbo did the same thing. So all I'm saying is that I am confident that already they know how that their jobs are cut out for them. They know that without a pliable or a pliant Haruna, you would have problems. Without plant Muntaka, you will have problems. So I'm sure that they will have their own mechanisms, assisted by Council of Elders, assisted by the top hierarchy of the party. We'll build certain. NDC, you see, in all this, NDC has been through this over and over and over again. Why? When we went to National Congress, what didn't people expect after the Congress? Because the General Secretary was contesting a national chairman, people were waiting for the party to burn. Armageddon after the results have been declared. But we've had relative peace in the party since then, until this little turmoil came up, which would surmount. It's very, it's very insignificant. I'm telling you, this one too we will scale. And in all situations, when these things happen, the party gets stronger. So look, Honorable Haruna understands the political stakes better than many of us. He knows what is at stake. He knows, and I don't believe that he would want to sacrifice the party he has helped build. I knew Honorable Haruna in Legon when he was our student leader. And so, having come this far, I don't believe that he would look at an issue like being replaced as minority leader and say, then let's pull down the party. I think that Honorable Muntaka knows that these are not issues where you pull down your party because maybe you have been asked to step aside. In any case, my personal philosophy is that there is no bad decision, there's no good decision in a person's life. Even when you have lost something, your focus should be on what good can I make out of it. And I believe that there are major opportunities available to all of them. And like we said, General Mosquito once told me that if he hadn't left Parliament, he would never have become General Secretary of the party because he never thought about it. But you see, let's also be mindful of the fact that, luckily for us, the General Secretary of the NDC today, Fifi Fiafikwete, just left Parliament.
Both of them,
chairman. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the chairman too has been in Parliament. Both of them have been in the executive positions before. General Mosquito was a deputy minister for Agric. Honorable Fifi Kwete had held series of portfolios. So they come with vast experience. And so I am counting on them to tap into those experiences in how they relate to all the stakeholders within the party and resolve this issue so that we'll move on hand in hand and build a stronger NDC. Because the focus will be, like the Council of Elders are saying, to beat the NPP in the 2024 elections. And I'm sure nobody will compromise their personal feelings about that of the party to achieve that.
Very well. So Larry, I'll come to Honorable Mama Yariga, because he's a man and he talks to Haruna, he talks to everybody, and he's in the heat of it. So what should be happening? You foresee a situation where Atufosin will have a difficulty pulling the resources of part of the minority caucus together?
I don't think so. Atu and Haruna are very, very, very close friends. They are very, 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 very close friends. So I think that the two of them, they are in a position to know
when very good friends fall out, it becomes
what exactly
very serious.
to do. But I see the point is also this, that these are individuals with political, ambitions. Haruna, obviously, everybody, even a child, is aware that Haruna has a presidential ambition. To a point that, I mean, this is the boat to which you want to sail through to get to that destination. And so you would want to be seen, as his statement said, that building bridges, saying that the party should be in a good state for tomorrow. Now, you have ex-President Mahama contesting an election to become flag bearer again. I mean, you hear issues as to how, sometimes theft war here and there, all that. Now, I think Haruna holds the key towards resolving this particular matter. I'm sure if Haruna should call Mahama right now, and I'm talking about Mahama Yariga, to say that, listen, Mahama, let's do this. Let's even withdraw that letter from the Council of Elders and say that we respect the party's decision, okay, and that for peace to prevail, for us to build unity, for us to put our house in order to contest 2024 election. I'm sure Mahama and all the others, including Muntaka, who is obviously an interested party in all this, okay, would all pull their brakes, and everything will pipe down.
I see.
If he's able to, his silence is not helping matters at all. People think that, the silence is dignifying. The silence is not dignifying. It's rather fueling other things. And when you have Muntaka coming to say that, listen, a discussion was actually held. Atu made the effort to talk to Haruna. However, things didn't come out as fruitful as Atu had portrayed during that press conference. For me, I think that it's not good, and that Haruna should be the guy who says that, listen, I served for 6 years. Okay, I served for 6 years. I was the leader, and so on. And Haruna had traveled through, various phases of NDC politics, youth organizer, MP, minister, minority leader, and minority leader. You've been there for 6 years, and so he should be the guy mounting a platform to say that, my guys, listen, I am bigger than this. And that I need to even bring people out. And I'm saying this with the knowledge that there's sickness. There's even death. And so today somebody is there, and then you are occupying a very sensitive position. And something happens, and you are no longer, stricken by a certain health condition. Somebody needs to replace you. And if for 6 years you've been there, and he said, listen, let's, do this, re-engineer this thing a bit, and put us in a good position to contest an election, I'm not sure hell should break loose where there wouldn't be fruitful discussions, where consultations are happening that people are trying to deny and all that. I don't think that is good enough.
Yes, so
Haruna holds the key.
Of course, there are reasons given by the national chairman. Obviously, I'm not sure how Haruna feels about those reasons. But Haruna holds the key. Do you believe that Haruna holds the key to resolving this crisis, if it's a crisis at all?
Well, first and foremost, Haruna has never told anybody that he wants to be president.
No, I don't think he said he said it's quite obvious in how he carries himself. That may be true or false.
No,
yeah.
I have never said certain things to people, but I hear
maybe that's how people perceive.
I hear commentary about me in that light. You understand? So I will reserve comments like that.
But it's actually good because people think that he's up to it, and so people are casting him in that light. He should be flattered by that.
No, it depends.
And perhaps that should make him start thinking about it, if he's not thinking about it at all.
It depends on the context in which you bring it up and how you bring it up. Are you getting the situation? If you bring it up in a context that suggests that, you are even looking for this and you are behaving this way. You know, it's not the best way to put it. You understand what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
That's why from the beginning I've said the man has kept quiet. You don't know why he has kept quiet. You think that his keeping quiet is what is fueling what is happening. And I've told you that some of our colleagues say they are doing it not because of Haruna. And I've also given you evidence that some of our colleagues have been consistent about that principle.
Others have also actually said that they are doing it because of Haruna. And Haruna is better placed to do that. Indeed, your document, Mama, just a moment. Your document talked about how, you know, Electoral Commission is putting, has an intention of putting a CI before Parliament, and then also government is doing IMF negotiation, and then the Japan deal is coming, and so this group, of which you are a member, thinks that Haruna and then the outgoing leadership are better placed, or is better placed, to do this particular, to lead this discussion.
Is that what
No, that's what the document is portraying.
Is that what the document said?
That's what the document is saying.
The document said that in the face of these critical challenges, we should not mismanage the front of the caucus. Are you getting the situation? That's what the document said. The document is not saying that it is only Haruna who can lead us through these challenges, or it is only Muntaka who can lead us.
It depends on the
no.
We are running out of time.
We can read through it.
Yes.
So that is one thing. Now, I think everybody holds a key to this. All of us, the way we communicate. That is why I have said, those of us who are on radio challenging the decision, we haven't done well. Those who took the decision and are on radio defending it haven't done well. Those who have been mentioned to haven't done well. We've all faltered. Okay? Let's all cease fire and give the the Council of Elders the platform to resolve the issue.
Honorable, you see this decision being reversed? Would the decision be reversed, or the decision will stand? I mean, you have a lot of experience politically, lawyer. I mean, from your experience, when bosses take decisions and there is fury about it, do you think in this political context the decision will be reversed, or people might just rally around the decision, make their corrections later, and move ahead?
I believe that Haruna or Muntaka will be among the last people to want to see a situation where the NDC as an organization is totally undermined. I believe so. Sometimes and then all those who have appended
and reversing the decision, undermining the authority.
All those who have put their names to this petition, I believe that each and every one of them will do whatever it takes to maintain the integrity of the chairman of the party, General Asedu Nkatia, and the general secretary of the party, and will refrain from doing anything that will fundamentally disable them from running and leading us to the ultimate objective of regaining power from the NPP. So let me say that I have confidence in the ability of the Council of Elders to manage the situation, and I have no doubt that ultimately on the 7th of February, when we get into the chamber, we are going to fight fearlessly as one united force. When we sit there and we fight, we're not fighting just for each other. We're fighting for people sitting out there who have placed their hope and confidence in us. So we're not sitting there and fighting for each other in the chamber. Now, the things that happened in the appointment of ministers, and I've consistently said this, it was a peculiar situation. When there's a secret ballot, sometimes the dynamics are completely different. It's difficult. Okay? You know, when it was secret ballot and we're fighting for speakership,
you got to vote from the other side.
Dynamics. Okay? Now, when President Akufo-Addo nominates ministers.
You don't know the relationship between those
You
ministers.
don't know the relationship between those ministers
and some of your people.
And some of the people. Some of the people, they represent entire traditional authorities. They are sitting there, their party is not in power. But the president has nominated somebody from their traditional authority to become a minister.
And the chief calls.
Then the chief calls you, say, your brother has been nominated a minister, and he say what? That you won't vote for him. If you reject him and the president changes, will we get a son of this place becoming a minister?
And that happened.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
Yes.
Are you getting the situation?
Guys, so we've run out of time on this matter. So just to confirm that, on the what's the name, on the 7th, it is most likely that the new guys appointed, really, they are the leaders of the party as we speak. They are your leaders now.
The communication
that is
of the party. The communication of the party to those people. Unfortunately, the communication is not to me.
Very well.
Okay?
Yeah. Very well.
But the communication is to them.
Very well.
And to the speaker. And there's no formal communication to
all
to
that
me.
will happen.
All I will say is that I should assume knowledge of the communication by virtue of the fact that the general secretary of the party and the chairman of the party have organized a press briefing in which they say it is our decision. Once they have organized a press briefing and say it is our decision, as a party member, I would have to take into consideration.
But there's a Tuesday meeting.
There's
a Tuesday meeting. Have you been informed of that meeting? Did that meeting, from what Fifi Kwete says, is to confirm the decision of the National Executive? Have you been informed of that decision?
Yes, we've been told about
there's a meeting.
Yes.
So you guys will go with all guns blazing to state your point.
If
and
the
make your
party calls you to a meeting, you have to go.
Very well. So I think we've wrapped down on this. We've had enough on this. Thanks so much, my guys. Honorable Mahama Yariga, spoken very well. Member of Parliament for Boku Central, Honorable George Lowe, Senior Counsel, of course, Mahama Yariga as well, MP for North Dai, Larry Alansdugbe, my colleague journalist, editor, the Herald newspaper, and the propounder of the Central Command theory. and Franklin Kujo, who will be on the next panel. Thank you so much, guys, for doing the listening and viewing as well. We will come back and look at the discussion on the domestic debt exchange and the options available to government to raise revenue so they can leave the domestic bondholders out of the whole mix. This is the big issue. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Skywater, premium natural mineral water for a refreshing life, made from the depths of the earth. Crisp, clear, unique. Drink Skywater. Be good to yourself. Skywater. The sky is the limit. This advert is FDA approved.
It's City on the Go. You don't have to miss any of your favorite television and radio shows on City TV and City FM. Enjoy thrilling content from your world of great television and relevant radio at your convenience. Subscribe to CityTube on YouTube. Turn on your notification button and receive prompts on our live streaming sessions and new content uploads. For easy access to the CityTube page, scan the barcode on your screens. Subscribe to the CityTube page and voila! Unlimited content awaits you. Don't forget to subscribe to CityTube for amazing content from City TV and City FM.
Hello and welcome to the Effective Living Series 2023.
Another year is upon us, and we are poised to kickstart this new revolution with the utmost zeal. City TV and City FM present to you another rewarding season of the Effective Living series. This year, the Effective Living series will be riding on the back of the theme 2023 Starter Pack, Building Back Better. Every week in the month of January, our team of renowned experts, alongside our exceptional host Bernard Avlem, will delve into various thematic areas that have been carefully selected to cater to your holistic well-being in the coming year. Week 1 will focus on the importance of physical preparation for 2023. After that, we will take a look at emotional and mental health imperatives for 2023 in our second weekly series. Then, we will proceed to the third weekly series with emphasis on professional priorities for 2023. In our fourth and final week, we will dig into the strategic conversation on building financial foundations for 2023. The Effective Living series will be live on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM at 9 a.m. and on Breakfast Daily on City TV at 9:30 a.m. from Monday through till Thursday. So join us and let's get ready to be equipped with practical information for building back better in 2023. The Effective Living series is sponsored by Enterprise Insurance and Hallmark Freights and Logistics Ghana Limited.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
Aside raising funding and be a unicorn, the main goal is to impact life, to enrich minds, to know that the African youth is capable of changing the narrative, taking charge of their lives, whether it's running a business or working for a company.
I fell in love with the opportunity to work with young people and channel their energy to nation building.
It's my job, once you join the team, to figure out how best you can use the strengths and even the weaknesses you have to advance the cause to prosperity for 1 billion people.
The generation before us helped us, and then we help the next generation.
Well, our struggles may be singular, but our destinies are shared.
Hello and welcome to the Effective Living Series 2023.
Another year is upon us, and we are poised to kickstart this new revolution with the utmost zeal. City TV and City FM present to you another rewarding season of the Effective Living series. This year, the Effective Living series will be riding on the back of the theme 2023 Starter Pack, Building Back Better. Every week in the month of January, our team of renowned experts, alongside our exceptional host Bernard Avlem, will delve into various thematic areas that have been carefully selected to cater to your holistic well-being in the coming year. Week 1 will focus on the importance of physical preparation for 2023. After that, we will take a look at emotional and mental health imperatives for 2023 in our second weekly series. Then, we will proceed to the third weekly series with emphasis on professional priorities for 2023. In our fourth and final week, we will dig into the strategic conversation on building financial foundations for 2023. The Effective Living series will be live on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM at 9 a.m. and on Breakfast Daily on City TV at 9:30 a.m. from Monday through till Thursday. So join us and let's get ready to be equipped with practical information for building back better in 2023. The Effective Living series is sponsored by Enterprise Insurance and Hallmark Freights and Logistics Ghana Limited.
Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. Just gone by is that discussion on the NDC parliamentary leadership turmoil and what should be done to restore some calm on that front. So we're moving on. We're looking at the next discussion, which is the state of the domestic debt exchange program and options available to government to raise revenue. Of course, we know that government is in some deep trouble. The economy is not good, not doing well. The finance minister has admitted to that. The president has admitted to that. Our debt levels are unsustainable, and debt to GDP ratio is about 105%. Government announced in July that it will go for an IMF program. IMF guys were in town. They did their debt sustainability analysis. It came out that Ghana is a highly debt-distressed country. And in order for the IMF to assist, IMF says that you need to bring your debts to sustainable levels. They say that our debt to GDP ratio should be around 55%, or they agreed that the debt to GDP ratio should be around 55% by 2028. And so government now began a process, calls it the debt operation, announced it first in the budget and said that details of that will be made available to the public. Indeed, days and weeks later, we got to hear about the debt exchange program, which spelled out details of the debt operation. Old bonds or maturing bonds to be exchanged for new ones at different rates and different terms or conditions. So that is where we are now. And government has been trying to get in some key institutions and people who hold Government of Ghana bonds. Initially, pension funds were a part, and the Association of Banks and Insurers and all of those were part of the bodies that were going to be affected. The trade unions said they were not going to agree for their pension funds to be involved in this. They threatened strikes and demonstrations from 27 December last year. Government had to cave in, and government took out the pension funds and now brought in the individual bondholders. Government initially said we're not going to be part. But government says because the pension people had left or the pension funds had been exempted, something had to come in to make up for the space or the vacuum created. So individual bondholders were now brought in. Yesterday, government made us aware that it has reached agreement with the three key institutions: Association of Bankers, the Ghana Insurers Association, and the Ghana Security Industry Association, group. And together, these constitute very key groups. The other part, which is the individual bondholders, they've not been able to come to any agreement yet. Sometime the week before this one, the individual bondholders eventually got their time with the finance minister, a meeting they had called for many times. And in that meeting, the finance minister suggested the constitution of a technical committee to look at the exclusion of individual bondholders from the DDE program. That committee was set up, chaired by Akest, Mr. Akest, who is the Director of Debt at the Finance Ministry, and Dr. Idrisu and a few others. Senyo Husi led his people, and they went into that meeting, had a discussion, and later a report is being produced. So the membership of that group is Mr. Samuel Akest, Director of TDMD, Ministry of Finance, who was leader of the GOG team, Dr. Alassane Idrisu, Director ESRD, MOF, member of the group, and then Senyo Husi, convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum, leader of the Bondholders team, Mr. David Tete, who is also a convener of the Bondholders Forum member, Mr. Martin Pebu, lawyer, also a convener of the IBF group, and then he was a member. He was also in attendance. And also Dr. Edu Anani Entry. He is from a different group. He is the Pensioners Bondholders Forum. And these are pensioners who say that they invested their pension funds as they took them, the bulk sum they took, they bought government bonds with it so that they can be, taking the returns and be living on the returns, for the rest of their lives, at least. But here is the case. All those monies will have to be added to this. So they are fighting to have that exempted because they say they are old people, they've worked their whole lives, they've saved money, and then they have now given that money or they bought government bonds, believing that it was safe and almost risk-free. But now that is not the case. In fact, they have been petitioning people. They petitioned former President Kufuor a few days ago, and indeed the Individual Bondholders Forum as well is petitioning people. They also petitioned Togbe Afede a couple of days ago. So this is the constitution of the team. Now of the committee. The committee now is put out a report, and the report essentially is on what other avenues government can use to raise money. And the report suggested that if all the things talked about are implemented, government could save some 83.5 billion cedis, which means that if this is saved, you could leave out the individual bondholders. Whether government is going to adopt this or not, we do not know. This is the subject of our discussion this morning. So my guests, Franklin Kujo, President Emmanuel Africa, Dr. John Kwachi, Senior Economist, Institute of Economic Affairs. They've also been suggesting some ways government could save money and raise money. Senyo Hosi, who is convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. Senyo and gentlemen, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So Senyo, tell us, of course, we've seen the report. How was the reception of the ministry and the minister to the concerns and the suggestions you made, and what really did we get from the committee?
We were able to present the committee's report officially to him yesterday as a team, and he was very pleased to have received it. If I should use his words, these were great recommendations, and it's something Ghana must take up seriously, or must do, something of that sort, he said. So I think that there is a path for us to restore our economy, and that is clearly covered by the recommendations in there. There'll be a need for some deeper diving into some of the recommendations in there, and also a segmentation of what is immediate, what is medium term, and what may be long term, or what is also recurring, and what possibly are one-time interventions. So all that would have to be looked at for us to see how we can actually schedule these possible flows over this period of the program. So bear in mind that the IMF program is not a one-year program. The target set is also not a one-year target. Our target is to achieve PV debt to GDP of 55% in 2028. So all the solutions should be able to sustain and bring value over the time. So in typical fashion, maybe to be right to now say from the work we have done, typically but we have to work together as a country to try and fix some of these problems. As to whether that is supposed to leave individuals out or DD out, we must look at the entire mix. When you have a crisis like this, you have to look at the options or the tools on your table. Government has two big buckets it can deal with. It can deal with its debts, see how we can reduce the debt through some restructuring, or reduce the cash burden of the debts through some restructuring, or look at how it would adjust its fiscal regime, i.e. its revenue and expenditure, to create more cash to be able to pay down the debt. Either way, you're able to get your debt down. What government has focused a bit more on has been on the debt operation side, looking at a restructuring of the debt and making those who's funded it actually take more of the hit. We haven't seen much on the fiscal readjustment side. What this report has done is to bring a lot more visibility on what possibly can be done on the fiscal readjustment side. And I must say, the work of a finance minister is very complicated. You sit in your office and then you have big responsibilities, run a budget, but you wake up every morning and then one ministry or the other may wrongly or rightly, largely just be taking you on the blind and committing you on the fiscal side. So it's a very complicated job, but he has a book that he has to balance, and he's just looking for the options that may be quite quicker and then easier. And that's why you've seen the conversation be more on the debt operation side. Let's have a conversation. I owe you $1 million. I'm going to structure it so that you are still going to have the effect of, you are going to have $1 million, but the effect of it is that it's 500,000. So for me as a finance minister, I have reduced my debt immediately by 50. The alternative is that, okay, guys, let's look at what we are doing. Can we reduce our expenditure by 300, increase our revenue by 200, and get the same 500, and come back and just say, this 1 million debt, I'm paying you off. Then I also have my debt. These are the two options. It's been more on the restructuring side than the fiscal side. And what we've put on the table is the need for us to look at the fiscal side, which I think he welcomed. And we hope to see something constructive together going forward.
I see. Dr. John Kwachi.
Let me make a note before then. Okay. You see, the reason why this fiscal readjustment is very important is that if we don't get ourselves right into this frame, we'll get back into another debt crisis. It is the fiscal, our less optimal management of our revenue and our expenditure behavior, this political behavior that led us into this crisis. So when you go and just readjust your debt and you don't change your behavior, you come back
to the same
situation. And Jamaica is a perfect example. They did it in 2 years. They were back, and I'm very confident that if we don't take these conversations more seriously, we'll be back. And it will be worse. It will be more painful. And I don't think that Ghanaians will have the tolerance for any politician.
I see. So, Dr. John Kwachi, senior economist at the Institute of Economic Affairs. I know you've been following the matters, and indeed, you have made some suggestions about how government can raise revenue or save, cost or revenue on some of the things it does. What are the key highlights of that paper, of that document you authored or you shared?
Hello?
Hello, Doc.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, to add to, or maybe take it from where Hosi, left it, it should be pointed out that, what the IMF is requiring of the Ghana government is to be able to demonstrate that our debt is going to be sustainable over the medium to long term. Okay, and there are two key components or elements or requirements to achieve the debt sustainability, and the IMF itself has stated it clearly in their communications with us. They have said that we need both fiscal consolidation and debt restructuring, both together, to be able to achieve the debt sustainability. They did not talk about only debt restructuring. And they have left it to the government to decide as to how much weight to put on either of these, two elements. And of course, government says they have undertaken some fiscal measures, and so on. They have cut expenditure and all that, but on the fiscal adjustment side, and so they propose this DDE. But of course, the bondholders have come out, of course, to say that it is too painful. It's too, the burden on them is too steep, and therefore, why don't we take a look again at the fiscal adjustment side, and whether there is room there, So that is where we, for instance, we focus on the fiscal adjustment that can be undertaken, so that you ease the burden on the bondholders by, if you're able to undertake those fiscal adjustments and make some savings from there, then you can use that to mitigate the impact or tweak the DDE and therefore reduce the effect on the bondholders. So we looked at expenditure measures, tax measures, and so on. And we came up with a rough figure. We didn't look at even the audit, how much can be saved, by enforcing the audit, and then also other like corruption, doing things about corruption, and we couldn't quantify. We didn't even go into those. So we came out with a more conservative figure of 45 billion. This is annually. In other words, if government undertook expenditure and tax measures, they could together save about 45 billion annually. Okay. So what we didn't, we couldn't actually work out was how much savings will be realized under the DDE. This is something that we still want. We are going to look at. In other words, under the existing bonds, if government were to pay the existing bonds according to their coupons and their maturity profile, it will cost government a certain amount. Now, under the DDE, it will cost government less. So, how much savings is government going to make? Now, that figure, Hosi says is available. I've not been able to get my hand on it, but if I got it, I can then compare with the 45 that I have come up with on the fiscal side, and then to be able to tell government that, so if you took these fiscal measures, you make so much savings. You can even use it to offset, how much you are going to save or mitigate from the DDE. And as such, we can tweak the DDE and make it less burdensome. Okay? And we came up with, we tweaked it a little bit and said, we should reduce the maturity, the lifespan that has been suggested under the DDE from 15 years to 10 years. There should be no moratorium. In other words, government is going to have a moratorium of 4 years before repaying the principal. So we said, no, do away with the moratorium. And also the coupons, which begin with 0.5 and then graduated upstairs until to 10.65. We said, do an average of 8 to 12% over the lifespan, the 10-year lifespan. So that is what we have come up with. In other words, we are saying that there should be more attention on fiscal consolidation. Of course, the IBF has come up with a much bigger figure of 84. Okay, so do more fiscal consolidation so that you can mitigate, the DDE and lessen the burden on bondholders, and then also the impact on the economy as a whole.
I see. I'll get back to you. But Senor is just telling me that the figure government is trying to deal with is about 70 billion of that's what they are trying to save. But I'm sure he will elaborate on that a bit later. So Franklin, when you see what Dr. John Kwachi is saying and what the IBF is proposing, it appears they are the medium to long-term things, but it also appears that the finance minister wants to deal with the low-hanging fruits. He has a situation on his hands. He wants quick solutions right now. How do you marry these two? Quick solutions to deal with the problems right now, and now to start implementing things which will take you quite some time to do. So, for example, the issue about property taxes, government has always said that, but the IBF is saying that government stands to raise some 1.1 billion, for example, from expediting reforms to enforce property taxes. We all know that, but I think in the mind of the finance ministry people, this will take a bit of time. They have to prepare the grounds. They have to do this, do that before they get here. Also, government exercising its right under the Aker Petroleum Agreement, for example, that's projected to raise some 5.6 billion. It doesn't a year, and that's even a year, and doesn't appear like it's something that government can just do. Maybe a few things would have to be done before. But I think Ken Ofurata is looking at how do I get the commitment right now to get this IMF program going. How do you marry these two very laudable points made by Senyo Hosi or the IBF and Dr. John Kwachi and the IEA? But Ken Ofurata and co also have a problem on their hand to resolve now. How do you marry the two?
Well, good morning to Senyo and Dr. Kwachi again. And Senyo and the team has been phenomenal in doing this work for the bondholders. I must admit that for the entire country as well. This is like the shadow EMT, by the way. If you look at the work the bondholders have done. I know the EMTs probably seem to be gagged, but this bondholders, for which I'm a proud member, has managed to probably speak their mind. And look, to the question you asked, there must be pragmatism in politics, and I get that. But you see, it's the politics that has gotten us into this hole, the politics of quick fixes. and jumping over what ought to be done. Don't forget that the last IMF program that we had, there were 11 structural, benchmarks that we were supposed to basically yield to before we jumped on the program. As at the time the government was exiting the program after that Kinke party, only 3, in fact, just about 2.5 have been yielded to, right? Against fantastic claims of trying to generate billions out of our oil revenues, and then some other things around the collateralization of bauxite and public, public sector reform, which never really materialized. You understand? So for me, look, the suggestions that have been made by the IBF in this joint technical committee are a root and stem approach to dealing with the economy once and for all, the structure of the economy once and for all. Because if the structure is weak, that's what gets us into these quick fixes. So I can understand the finance minister may be in a hurry in order to fix the bedlam, the trouble he's superintended upon. But he cannot do that on the author of sound economics. And that's the arena in which the likes of Dr. John Kwachi and Senyo and all the people are associated with intellectually play, including the media, by the way. So we should, in fact, the clarion call should be based on, and the media must emphasize and actually, should I say, popularize this opinion or viewpoint that, look, where we are right now, we don't need quick fixes because the problem will come back and bite you. In fact, people have suggested, I think Senyo mentioned a while ago, and I think my own Bryce Simmons has said that if we don't get these things properly, we might have multiple defaults, and that's not what we want, right? So the measures that have been proposed by the IBF are a root and stem approach to dealing with the fundamentals of how to fix a country on the revenue side, on the expenditure side. If we don't get that done, then you'll be in trouble. How long have we been talking about the property rights regime? I must admit, though, that I got some messages from the technical guys championing this project yesterday or so. They sent me some propaganda material showing that the property tax thing is taking off. And I've seen their work when they did some pilots in a few metropolitan areas and the monies they garnered. We have even lowered the estimation to about $1.1 billion. The bondholder, the technical committee report is suggesting just a little over $1 billion this year. If we're looking at an average amount of about 2.2 million, if you like, households in this country. Even that I have a problem, I was telling Senor the other day that the property tax does not take into cognizance the value of the land. But for starters, we can start with just average of 1,000 cedis per household. I'm not saying every household pay 1,000. It's an average, so that people do not think that we've gone to tell the government that they should charge every household 1,000 cedis. That's not the point. But these are clear, indicative proposals as to how to deal with an economy of the nature that we have. For far too long, politicians have taken this country for a ride in populism, in what I call making sloganeering their way to development, and that's what must cease. If we do not tame this runaway, sloganeering political structures that we've created for ourselves, we might continue to be in this downward spiral of just quick fixes and then get ourselves further deeper in the hole. I don't think it's in the interest of my good friend Kendo Foriata to leave a legacy that just said, oh, I managed to get the debt program and to hell with the other structural benchmark that must be. The bondholders forum and the technical committee proposals constitute what I think are the critical structural benchmarks that must be resolved in order to get this country on the path of real sustainable economic governance. It's not just for ourselves. When I look at the recommendations that have been made, and I was just a small fly on the wall, by the way. A lot of the heavy lifting was done by Senyo and the guys, and I look at it critically. I ask myself, why did we even have to? We have enough brains in this country, and I dare say that the finance ministry and the government are aware about these things that ought to be fixed. But for the sake of politics, they will be temporarily dishevelled and will not be fixed over time. if you have a 15-year window to fix your debt restructuring or whatever you call it, you can get these things done within 5 years if you are truly serious, right? So I don't think anybody should be fooled into thinking that when politics and pragmatism meet, politics must triumph at the peril of the entire country. It is pragmatism that must hold sway. And I dare say that the solutions that John Kwachi, the solutions as detailed as the IBF has made, which are called the real blueprints of the economic management team, or the shadow economic management team, I must say, really is the one that ought to be emphasized right now. We should hold these things as a flag, wave it across the entirety of this country, and let everybody sign on to it. And I applaud the media for doing their part as well. You must not relent, but this is the only real chance to have our country back from the politicians.
I see. And the CDD has also been doing some work on reducing the size and cost of running government. And they've also made some interesting points regarding regarding what can be done to save the government some cost or cost of running itself. Yes. So I will, even before I come to Senegal, so yes, before I come to Senegal, let me cross, I did say earlier that we'll have to cross over to the Africa Prosperity Dialogue at Peduasi on TV whilst we remain on radio. So I think the guys that are ready, that program is about starting. So our TV viewers, we are crossing over to Peduasi, but we'll continue the discussion on 97.3 City FM. We are looking at, so TV, thank you so much. So we're looking at the debt restructuring program and what suggestions are available, or what options are available to government. Yes, the Africa Prosperity Dialogue at PDRC. No, but that is a program. So.